Building a Modern Prairie Sconce, Part 3 at randallprice.com. I've completed the finish on the sconce, and I finished it prior to assembly because of the distance that these slats fit together. If I would have waited to finish those after assembly, there's no way I would have been able to get in between the slats to apply the stain and especially to spray the lacquer finish that I used on here. So this is the first time I've tried finishing before assembly, so I'll see how that works out. In order to finish the sconce prior to assembly and still be able to glue it together, I had to mask off all the surfaces that will receive glue. So here's an example of one of the miters that I masked off, and I will peel the glue off. Peel the tape off, I mean. And there's the surface. One other thing that I kind of forgot about, in the original design I had planned to make a keyed miter joint, which would be bringing two of the pieces together, cutting a slot across here and putting a triangular key in there. Well, if I did that, now the key would be unfinished across this joint, and I would have to try to apply a finish to that key and spray lacquer on there, and I wouldn't get a good blending in there. So what I've decided to do is to make a biscuit joint. So I'll cut a slot in each of these miters, actually the 8 surfaces that will make up the 4 miter joints, and join them with biscuits. Since I decided to use biscuit joinery on the frame of the sconce, I thought this would be a good chance to demo the MLCS slot cutting bit and biscuits on the router table, so I'd like to show you how that works. Here's the MLCS slot cutting bit. The bit came with biscuits. They're 1.5 inches long. It has a 1/4 inch shank and a guide bearing to control the depth of cut. The diameter of the cutter is designed to cut a profile to fit the 1.5 inch long biscuits. Okay, I've got my camera down close to the slot cutting bit so you can see the slots being cut. Here's one surface I'm going to cut the slot into. Don't have real good lighting here. Here's a biscuit, so you can see about how far I need to cut. I could mark each one of these so I know how far to cut, but I'll just know not to go clear out to the end. That would ruin my joint, so I want to stay just shy of the ends when I cut the slots. Another thing, you can't really depend on having this bit perfectly centered in your piece, so you want to arrange all of the pieces that you're going to cut so you're always cutting from the same face. So what I've done, I want to double check here. I've got all my pieces laying face down. I'll make sure I keep them face down when I cut the slot. So even if this bit was not perfectly centered, because I'm cutting them all from the same face, the slots will be aligned with each other. Okay, so I'm ready to start cutting the slots. This will be a little bit noisy, so I won't be talking as I make the cuts. Just as with any other cut, you want to cut into the router bit against the rotation of the bit. So there's one slot. Okay, the slots are all cut, and here's an example of how they'll fit together. There's a biscuit in the slot. The pieces come together just like that. I'm doing a dry fit of this whole slat sub-assembly, and I fit 4 of the slats together. I wanted to show you how they fit together. Just have a dado cut in each one of these, and they fit together kind of half lap style. And I'll lay it down here and fit this last piece in. So there's that. So that's a nice fit. And one of the previous parts of this video series, I showed how I cut these joints. The slats at the bottom, I'm using loose tenon joinery. I'll put one of the tenons out of there. So just have a slot routed in there. The shelf has corresponding slots routed in that. I'll just give that a test fit here too. I'll have to readjust my camera. Yeah, those fit. Just like that. Let me get out of the... So there's how that fits together. So there's a dry fit of the slat sub-assembly, and I'll glue that up. Okay, there's a little bit better picture of the dry fit on the slat sub-assembly. When I glue up these slat joints, I want to place a caul across here to apply even pressure to the joints, and also cushion it so that I don't damage the wood, since I already have a finish on here. So I'm going to make a caul. I thought I'd show you how I do that. I use this for various woodworking projects. All I have is a piece of wood. I have some gasket material, which is just automotive gasket material that I buy from the auto store. I have some spray adhesive. I'll cut out a piece of cork just to fit this caul, spray adhesive on one side and stick it to there. Okay, here's the cork. You can't see, but I've got spray adhesive on that. I'll just stick it to the piece of wood. Give just a minute to slide it around. There's my caul. Okay, I'm going to use this little accordion glue applicator. It just makes it a little bit easier to spread the glue in small areas. I'll just Here's all the joints. glue on the shelf, the loose tenon joints. This little accordion glue bottle works really good for getting down into those mortises. The slat subassembly is dry, and I've taken it out of the clamps. I've laid out the frame of the sconce on some support blocks in preparation to doing the final glue up. The subassembly shelf is notched at the back, and that fits into corresponding notches in the sconce frame. At the other end of the subassembly, I have loose tenons which will fit in corresponding joints in the sconce frame. I've taped two of the miter joints, so these act as hinges which will aid when I glue it up. This other side I'm going to have to leave free because I'm going to have to slide that in to lock in the loose tenon joints and the two slots at the other end. So after some quick work with biscuits and tenons and spreading glue and lots of clamps, here's the sconce glued up and clamped. In part 4, I'll install the electrical components, make a shade from handmade paper, and complete the sconce. For woodworking plans, tips, and techniques, visit randallprice.com.